There are two things wrong with my wife's PC. The first, very obvious to some. We have a black graphics card in an all white PC build. Looks a little bit ridiculous. So we're going to be spray painting that, taking it apart, doing the whole thing, and it'll fit the aesthetic a lot better of this PC because clearly my wife is all about the aesthetics on this PC. So the second thing that is really annoying is whenever we have longer gaming sessions, these two fans start to rattle a little bit, and I think the bearing is probably going out on these top two. But I did buy enough fans that if I had to replace all of them, that I could. The third thing that we're actually going to do, a little bit of a bonus, not necessarily something wrong, but something we're going to do today, is revamp the outside glass side panel. So stay tuned for that. All right, so here it is, my wife's PC setup in all of its glory. Got the 32-inch 1440p 180 hertz display with the Ryzen 5 7600 and the RX 6700 XT. Hey everyone, Future Christian here. Just want to give you a heads up that throughout this video, I kind of goofed up on some of the audio recording. So there might be some scenes that you see me talking and trying to explain something in real time, but I'm gonna have to dub that over with some voiceovers. So just want to give you that heads up ahead of time. And here's that first iteration of that. Here in a minute, you're gonna see me come on screen, start talking, but neglected to turn on my microphone. But what you're seeing is I'm talking about how I taped down some of the cables for the fans. I got everything, taken apart and ready to spray paint. Using the Krylon Fusion all-in-one, this worked great in general. There was some user error involved with doing the application, but in general, I think this paint ended up working out as a great solution, both for the plastic and for the metal. I also got this little handle, make it a little bit more ergonomic and easy to use. At first, spoiler alert, I kind of goofed up and sprayed a little bit too much, but I think in general, it is a good tool once you learn how to use it. So maybe practice on something that isn't your graphics card first. If you've never spray painted, I didn't necessarily have a bunch of spray painting experience in the past, and it'll be pretty evident if anyone's ever spray painted and you watch this video. I eventually figured it out though, you'll see.
I said, hold on. I said, hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
So you can see I'm just absolutely coating it on, and this really turned out to be a problem on the metal side of the shroud. The plastic side of the shroud was mostly fine. That was pretty easy, but I absolutely coated the metal side and did way too much paint way too fast and ended up coming back to bite me. So if you learn anything, less is more, go slow, take your time, light coats. Aww. So as you can see, this turned out pretty bad. What ended up happening was I coated it way too much and I went to check to see if it was dry, and I kind of smushed it, created a wrinkle, and it just started to create all kinds of problems. Then I tried solving it by filling in this just like massive coating of paint with more paint, and it created more problems than it solved. So got a fresh can of paint. We're gonna try to not screw this up again. All right, so we can see this side of the GPU came out really good. I need to do some light sanding, but overall came out really good. This came out like crap, so I sanded it all down, removed as much paint as I could. Now I'm gonna try to do a little bit lighter of coats. I accidentally did too heavy of paint, and then when I went to check to see if it was still dry, I smushed it, and then sent me down quite the rabbit hole. So we're gonna fix that. So now this is looking pretty good. So if you're going to learn anything, less is more when it comes to spray painting. So now that we're done here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is use some matte clear coat. It's just kind of seal it in and kind of protect it, give it a little bit more of a smooth texture. So let's go ahead and do that. So something I have been using that's been really helpful. Sorry, messy garage. I picked this up for like $20 at Walmart just because it's getting so hot in the garage here in Florida. So it's also helping that I can put it lower to the ground and have it kind of directly point there and then ventilate outside to the garage while I'm not in here. All right, so while we're waiting for the shroud to dry, I'm going to prep our motherboard and our heatsink. So we're gonna get all this old thermal paste off right here. I'm using isopropyl alcohol for electronics, 99% alcohol. That means it's pretty much good on anything. It'll be all right. Easy as that. I'm not really worried about the thermal paste over here. So it came from the factory, so not a huge deal. So in the interest of everyone's time, I kind of stumbled my way through putting the graphics card back together, but to give you some advice, I would essentially do it in two parts. So there's the metal backplate, there's the motherboard, then there's the heatsink, and then there's the front shroud. My suggestion, if I were to do this again, would be to do it in two separate parts and then bring the two parts back together. So take the metal shroud, take the motherboard, put that together, then take the plastic shroud and then the heatsink, put that all together, and then there's a few screws once you put the two pieces together, and it's going to be a lot easier. But I struggled through it, and I didn't want to waste everyone's time watching me fumble my way through it.
Uh-oh, spaghetti-o!
There we go. All right, so this ended up being some really boring footage, so just wanted to put this in there to show that I did actually change the fans. The fans have been great. I haven't really noticed as much noise lately, but one of the things that's annoying is it does retain the lighting. So whenever we shut the PC off, it still has the lights on for some reason. I'm not really sure if that's a setting, a bug, or a feature, but anyway, it's been pretty good so far. Now we are off to the fun stuff. So this is kind of what I was alluding to in the beginning. We are actually going to be laser engraving a design into my wife's PC. So here you can see I could just getting the laser leveled to be in focus with the glass before I do any prep work. So this is the most important step of the process. You really want to make sure that that is level and focused so that your image comes out really clear. And so what I'm doing now is I'm prepping the glass to be sprayed with what's called tempera paint. You'll see me show that here in a moment, but essentially you need something, because I don't have a CO2 laser, I have a diode laser, and that means that just by shooting the laser onto the glass, I'm not going to be able to etch the glass. I have to have a medium that stops the glass from or the laser from just going straight through the glass. So what method I found works best is using this water soluble tempera paint with an airbrush to spray a thin coat of this paint, and then this will heat up the glass enough to be able to engrave the glass. So here I'm just mixing up the paint. So I am by no means an airbrush expert, but I just kind of eyeball it and trial and error, kind of figure it out over time. But I've had my fair share of struggles with airbrushes in the past. Here I'm just mixing kind of like 1-to-1 ratio of airbrush, thinner, and paint. And so I'm just mixing that up before I put it in the airbrush. Here you can see I'm doing a little test sprays, and then you just kind of go over it, do some sprays. It's water soluble. You'll see me take it off at the end, but it is super easy to take off. Like you literally just spray some Windex on it, wipe it down with a towel, and it comes right off. It's amazing. Here I am finishing up the first coat. I generally do about 2 to 3 coats every time. And here you can see what it looks like after the first coat. So as soon as you hold it up to some light, you can see that it's like very translucent. You want to make sure that whenever you go to engrave it, that it's completely opaque. So you don't want to be able to see your fingers moving in the background. That's usually my test. So here you can see that the coat is opaque. I can't really see my fingers behind it, but there are some minor spots that need to be touched up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that touched up, and then we'll be ready for engraving. All right, we've got our laser lined up correctly. We've got our program loaded. Gonna be doing a frame of flowers for my wife around her side panel. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Checking back in after about 30 minutes, I realized that my freedom units have misled me. So I had the inches approximately right, but I realized after this started and doing a little bit more careful measurements that I'm off by about 8 millimeters. And so if I were to let this keep going, that it would be about 8 millimeters short from where I would want it to be. So what I'm going to end up doing is stopping it halfway through, because there's a good stopping point where it finishes the bottom part and then switches over to the top part. So when it goes in between, I'm going to go ahead and stop it and then rotate the glass and then do another half of the glass. And here you can see this is the first half. Look like it came out pretty good. Nice crisp lines. Nice and lined up. Getting ready to go ahead and start on the next side. All right, here we go. Getting ready to start on the other side. Got the glass flipped around, got the laser ready. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off. All right, we got everything finished up. It's looking pretty good. Let's take a look on the other side, see how it turned out. So this is what it's gonna look like on her PC, and I gotta say, I do think it turned out really well. Really not quite perfect there, but I mean, for the most part, it came out really great on these sides. It came out really good. I think it just had a little bit of a misalignment there, but honestly, it's not super noticeable, so. Some regular old Windex. It comes right off. Looks pretty good. So I was originally only going to do the side panel, but once I got into it, I realized that I could take off the other front panel. And so now you can see that I'm just go ahead and framing up the front panel just so I can get a good idea of where I'm going to put my image so that it's nice and centered on the panel. All right, so after screwing around with my airbrush for about 2 hours last night, we finally got everything squared away. I had a lot of random issues that I came across. If you're not an airbrush expert, neither am I, but I eventually took it apart and put it back together enough times, placed the needle, everything ended up working. Got it all finished up. I got some more needles on the way, so future projects might be a little bit easier. So now that we got that all spray painted, it's opaque, it's ready to go. Let's get this thing engraved. All right, we just did a little bit of framing. I think we're in a really good spot. So let's run this thing. All right, so as you can see, this didn't finish. So I was finishing up some work, and I put the laser on while I was finishing up work. Came out here after I was maybe 60% done and noticed that it was so close to being done. Something happened with the power, and the circuit in the garage must have tripped, and the laser shut off. The power to the laptop went out, the light bulb went out, everything went out. I was like, "There's no way." My piece for my wife is totally ruined. Her PC is gonna look so jank. I was so upset about it. But after 3 hours of screwing around with this, I manually wrote some G code with the help of AI to help me finish the remainder. I seriously can't believe I did that. I'll go into more detail in a bit, but essentially, I used the focus and the rehoming button to get it to be exactly right here. And then I framed it to make sure that it was, it looked correct. And I could see the frame in the black paint very faintly. It only runs at about 3%. But after 3 hours of not being able to figure out how to get the coordinates here, I had an idea because you can zoom in. Oop. Anyway, I'm glad I'm done with this. But got it to align perfectly. I mean, you can move this. So I jogged it into place. So I set the focus to 3%, and then you can jog as low as, 0.1 millimeter. So once I got pretty close, just kept working it and working it and working it, and eventually got to the place that I wanted. And based on, you can't really see it now, but based on where I had the green bar filled up to, it's kind of where I approximated everything. And then I started reading the G code and figuring out X and Y coordinates to figure it all out. Still can't believe that I ended up doing it. So I went from 3,000, let's see, 380,000 lines to about 6,000 lines. So That was definitely a tough one to parse out, but I'll show you guys the finished product. It looks amazing. Like, you seriously cannot tell that the laser stopped 90% of the way through. I'm so freaking stoked that that didn't end up ruining it. So tomorrow I'm going to take the black paint off, and that'll be a wrap on this project.
Shop till we drop, we're feeling fly, fly. Yeah. New trends, new styles, oh my. We click, add to the card. Shame we've got